In a vibrant village in Ghana lived a beautiful woman named Adama. Adama's sweet oranges were loved by all, but her heart was heavy with grief. Her husband Kwam had passed away, leaving her to mourn alone. As whispers spread through the village, suspicion fell upon her. One fateful day, charming men approached her with deceitful intentions. In a moment of vulnerability, tragedy struck. When she cried for help, the villagers turned away, believing her husband's spirit punished her. But one kind girl named Abina dared to help Adama. Adama's journey for justice leads to heartbreak and betrayal. In her despair, Adama makes a curse that echoes through the village. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled among the lush hills of Ghana, there lived a woman named Adama. Adama was renowned for her stunning beauty and her delicious sweet oranges, which she sold to the villagers. She was a young widow, having recently lost her beloved husband, Kwame, to the cold hands of death. In the traditions of their village, it was expected that Adama would mourn her husband for a full year, refraining from any romantic relationships during this period. The elders warned her that if she were to stray from this path, her husband's spirit would haunt her and bring misfortune. Adama had cherished a brief but beautiful marriage with Kwame, and his sudden passing left her heartbroken. As time passed, whispers began to circulate among the villagers, accusing her of having played a role in his death. The suspicion weighed heavily on her, and every glance seemed to carry judgment. The villagers began to whisper about her, blaming her for the sorrow that followed Kwame's demise. One sunny afternoon, as Adama was hawking her oranges in the village square, a group of young men approached her. They were charming and persuasive, leading her to believe that they would buy all the oranges in her basket. Adama's heart leaped with joy at the thought of selling her entire stock, especially as the sun began to set. However, one of the men took advantage of her excitement and suggested that she should drop the oranges into his heart. Without thinking, Adama followed him toward the nearby bush to comply. In an instant, the atmosphere turned dark. The young men pounced on her and took advantage of her vulnerability. Adama fought back, but they overpowered her and she lost consciousness. When she awoke, she found herself lying alone by the bush with the village surrounding her. Desperately, she pleaded for help, but no one came to her rescue. The villagers, steeped in superstition, believed that her husband's spirit was punishing her for breaking the mourning period. As she cried out, a young girl named Abena stepped forward. Unlike the others, Abena showed compassion and offered to take Adama home. Adama was filled with gratitude for the kindness of this stranger when everyone else had turned away. Abena escorted her home, and once Adama was settled and stable, she bid her farewell and returned to her own family. Adama was traumatized by the betrayal of her community. She never expected them to treat her with such disdain after the horrifying ordeal she had faced. Motivated to seek justice, she decided to visit the village chief the very next day. However, her heart sank when she discovered that the young men who had violated her were the sons of the village chief himself. Determined, Adama summoned the courage to tell the chief her story, hoping he would deliver justice to her. But the chief's sons quickly twisted her words, claiming that she had pursued them instead. Devastated, Adama tried to defend herself, but the chief sided with his sons, leaving her feeling hopeless and betrayed. Word of the incident spread throughout the village, and soon the villagers began to label Adama a loose woman. They claimed she had offered herself to multiple men shortly after losing her husband. Overwhelmed by this injustice, Adama returned home in tears. Weeks passed, and to her shock, she discovered that she was pregnant. Confused and terrified, she returned to the village chief to explain her situation, but he refused to see her. Feeling lost, Adama sat in the middle of the village square and began to scream her story to anyone who would listen. She recounted the painful events, hoping someone would believe her, but the villagers merely laughed and speculated about her sanity. Just as despair began to take hold, Abena approached her once more, expressing her belief in Adama's truth. Adama broke down in tears, overwhelmed by the pain of her situation and the weight of her sorrow. She hugged Abena tightly, grateful for her unwavering support amidst the chaos. Yet the scars of her past continued to haunt her. The loss of her husband and the recent traumatic events pushed Adama to the edge of despair. In a moment of darkness, Adama contemplated ending her life. However, before she could take that irreversible step, she made a powerful curse upon the village, declaring that no one would ever hear the cry of a child in their land again. The following morning, news of Adama's death spread like wildfire through the village. Many speculated that she had fallen victim to her husband's spirit. Life in the village resumed as if nothing had happened. Yet as the months turned into years, the villagers began to notice something strange. No one was able to conceive. Years passed, and the once thriving village was now filled with despair. Couples who had previously celebrated their marriages now found themselves barren. Desperate for answers, they sought the counsel of the village chief, who consulted the gods. The chief learned that Adama's curse had indeed taken hold, and that the village was under a dark spell. The chief was told that to break the curse, they would need to find the one child Adama had blessed with the power to lift it. Meanwhile, the villagers grew restless. They decided that they should marry women from neighboring villages in hopes of breaking the curse. They felt that if they could connect with other lands, perhaps their fate would change. However, this too proved in vain, as even those marriages bore no children. For over 10 years, the village remained silent, and the cry of a baby was never heard. Then, one fateful day, news surfaced of a young woman named Ezai, who had married a man from the neighboring village and had miraculously become pregnant. The villagers were skeptical, yet hopeful, as Essie became the first sign of life in a decade. Essie's pregnancy was monitored closely. Half of the villagers anticipated tragedy, fearing the curse that hung over them. Months passed, and against all odds, Essie gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. Joy and awe filled the village as they finally heard the sound of a child's laughter echoing through the land. In the days that followed, a meeting was called among the villagers. A woman named Akua, who had been married for 7 years without conceiving, suggested that Essie should help them achieve the same blessing. The women gathered desperately, hoping to conceive as well. Essie, filled with compassion, initially agreed to help. However, when the women suggested that she sleep with their husbands to grant the blessing, Essie was taken aback and firmly refused their request. Despite Essie's refusal, the women persisted, driven by their desperation. Rumors began to circulate that she was somehow to blame for the curse. The atmosphere of the village grew tense and hostile toward Essie. One particularly dark night, Essie's baby fell ill. The distressing sight of her sick child pushed Essie to seek help from the village healer. However, the healer coldly refused to treat her, claiming that since Essie wouldn't share her blessing, she deserved no aid. Devastated, Essie watched helplessly as her daughter's health deteriorated. The next day, Essie's husband rushed to the village chief, pleading for help. But the chief was indifferent to their plight. With no other options left, Essie and her husband decided to leave their village and seek help in his homeland. As they left, a group of women approached them with a different story. They had long been aware of the evil prevailing in the village and were determined to put an end to it. They revealed that a dark meeting had been held to plot against Essie's child, believing that killing her could break the curse. The women confessed that they could not bear the thought of harming an innocent child, so they embarked on a quest to find a way to lift the curse instead. These compassionate women sought out a powerful healer who lived on the outskirts of the village. After a long journey, they found her and were given an antidote to save Essie's daughter. With joy and urgency, they rushed back to Essie, and upon administering the antidote, the little girl's health was restored. Exuberant, Essie cried tears of relief and gratitude for the women who had saved her child. The next morning, the village was thrown into a state of disbelief at the miraculous recovery. Meanwhile, as time passed, the village began to witness a sudden change. Women began to conceive at last. Essie's baby was the key to breaking the curse that Adama had laid upon the villagers. As whispers of Essie's child's significance spread, the villagers realized that kindness was the true remedy to their misfortunes. They had wronged Adama, and now they began to shower Essie and her daughter with love and reverence. However, Essie could sense the insincerity behind their kindness. Their hearts were still tainted by their past actions. The village chief's sons, who had once taken advantage of Adama, found themselves childless and unable to continue their lineage. The curse had not only affected Adama, but it had also claimed the chief's family as well. Those who had shown true kindness to Essie and her daughter were the only ones who found relief from the lingering curse. The rest of the villagers faced the bitter truth. They would remain barren for the rest of their lives. The lesson from this tale resonates still. Our actions have profound consequences. It teaches us that bearing false witness against our neighbors can lead to devastating outcomes. We must learn to question the narratives we hear, for there are always multiple sides to a story. The truth is often buried beneath layers of misunderstanding and prejudice. Finally, it reminds us of the importance of kindness. A simple gesture of compassion can ripple through the lives of others. It is a gift that benefits us all. In the end, despite the challenges we endure, cherishing life is essential. Despair should never be our answer, as the village discovered the power of kindness.